Welcome back to the Marketplace. On Show Business today, we turn our attention to a conversation that Ghana must no longer shy away from. What happens when a legend like Daddy Lumba dies? The high life icon has left behind a musical legacy that spans generations, but his passing will not only be a moment for mourning, it also raises critical questions about ownership, control, and the future of his life's work. Who protects the legacy? And how do we ensure that the story of Daddy Lumba is not reduced to a commercial free-for-all trajectory? Let's unpack the business of posthumous artistry with cultural journalist Kenneth Awochidako, who is here with me to let us understand why is this important and what are the legal protections that exist in Ghana to secure an artist's intellectual property. Kenneth, so what's going on and how can this be ensured or basically enforced?
So if you want to look at how heavy Daddy Lumba is, not just traditionally, but on digital as well, you can just look at the streaming numbers. Just 24 hours or 48 hours after his passing, on Apple Music, he was topping the charts, even though he hadn't released any song this year or maybe since the early part of last year. We haven't seen him in the chart, but once the news came out that a legend or this big tree had fallen, you saw the numbers that trooped onto the streaming platform to look at some of the discography that he has, put out there. So that brings to the fore how important he is as an artist and a creative in this space that we are in. So if you look at the numbers on Apple Music, for instance, he was all over the charts. For instance, Makramo was the #1 song immediately on Monday morning. It was the #1 song that was trending on Apple Music. There were a series of songs that are from some of his older discography, which also made it onto the charts, which shows that his work is actually very valuable and has transcended generations and time up until this point, which brings us to the point of protection of his work now that he is no more.
Protection, you mentioned Makramo being first, with Aquanoba being fifth, and also, interesting enough, the numbers keep soaring on the charts.
And it wasn't just up to #12. There are so many, but this is what he needed to put out just to give our viewers a fair idea of how his songs are doing on the charts right now. But that's why it's important that we protect his work, because going forward, you know that because of the legendary status that he has achieved, already people have collaborated with him, but now that he's no more, even more people are still identifying with his songs and are trying to find themselves in there, which means that more creatives or newer creatives will be trying to tap into that artistry, and people who do not even align with him in any form will want to also benefit from that, which is where we need the legal protection to, preserve his work so that the revenue that will be accrued from any work that has come after his death will find its way into the right channels so that the actual creators will benefit from things like that.
But before we go, why does conflict rise when it comes to ownership rights of particular music products, basically?
So if you look at the fact that it's an art form that attracts a large audience, and large audience also comes with a lot of revenue, which means that persons who are outside the framework will want to also have their way with it. In as much as a lot of them will do that legally, there are other people that will want to do that, illegally, because, once there are loopholes, people want to exploit. We are human, and people find opportunities in some of these things, which is why it's important that we look at conversations like this. The fact that he is gone doesn't mean that his work should go along with him. His work is still staying, and we should make sure that we are putting in place the right frameworks to make sure that the right people, the creatives who contributed to the music benefit, and his family and the estate also have their way and find creative ways to explore that, to ensure that his legacy continues even though he is no more.
Well, we saw what happened to the legacy of Michael Jackson, and certainly will bring you on beyond the numbers, to go beyond these numbers to basically understand how the music's contribution to our GDP and also how his legacy should be honored. Thank you so much, Kenneth Awochu, for bringing us such an insightful conversation on the legacy of Daddy Lumba. You're watching here Beyond the Numbers, and the Marketplace. We bring you the up-to-date update on what is happening on the market. My name is Winston Taki. Thanks for watching, and have a good business day. Bye-bye.